who's with us. It's my pleasure to introduce Murray Pound. Murray is the president of Gold Seal Homes in Carstairs, Alberta, and he's traveled here to be with us today to tell about some of his experiences. I'll give a brief introduction and then Murray will share a little bit of the presentation with us. Murray is from Carstairs, Alberta, where he and his wife Tracy are raising their 2 daughters. As a home builder, Murray actively seeks out superior build solutions to provide the most durable, safe, and valuable homes he can for his clients. He is an avid volunteer in the community, and his passions, other than his family, are fly fishing and being an active member of the local emergency services group. Murray has a Bachelor of Commerce degree, his Master Builder designation, Moisture Smart Technician certification, R2000 designation, and NFPA 1021 Fire Officer Standards. A lot of great qualifications for the topics that we're speaking about. Murray, we're pleased that you have joined us today. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Yeah, it sounds impressive when you read it out like that, but I always contend that I'm just a dumb kid from Carstairs that got bored with his day-to-day job, so I keep going back to school and learning, and I'm learning a lot of things today, and I do appreciate ICLR inviting me. Continue to eat, go get more food, fill up, and I'll try not to give you indigestion while I talk. So, as I've progressed as a home builder, and it's a family business, we've been doing it now for 25 years, and we realize that there's a couple different ways. There's 2 ways of building a home. You can build a home the way 99.9% of the homes are built, the way 99.9% of the home buyers think they want, or we can do something that's a little better. And I guess that's what brought me here today, as we started engaging in conversations with Glenn and Jason along the way, and they invited me to share my thoughts on water infiltration. So, as an industry, we've made some mistakes. In Vancouver, as you'll remember as insurers in the room, the Vancouver leaky condo problems, that was just poor manufacturing. And it nearly bankrupted the warranty program. The warranty program stepped in, fixed all those condos, but that was bad process. That was bad contractors and shoddy workmanship. And then just recently, everybody knows about the floods in Alberta and the insurable damages. I can't really quote that number, but the number that's coming from our provincial government is north of $3 billion now. So that's made up of insurable damages and then costs that the provincial government is going to fund, and then personal costs that people can't claim. I'm sure it's going to be much more than that. Loss of tourism, lost opportunities in our province this year and in future years. If you ever get to Alberta, it has totally changed the landscape of our province. We lost one of the most beautiful golf courses in Alberta. The golf course in Kananaskis will never be rebuilt. It's gone. Canmore Riverfront is destroyed. Athabasca Falls have been rediverted and they don't look the same anymore. So this one flood changed the landscape, if you will, of our province. Now the High River issue is, it's funny, I'm just having a conversation about, when I'm speaking, how many Albertans there are in the room, and in Alberta, typically it's only 10% of the people that put their hands up, because we've had so many people over the past 30, 40 years move to Alberta for the oil industry and other industries. And we always, as Albertans, we always laughed when we heard about people moving to High River. Well, what do you think they called it that for? When your streets are 15 feet above the river surface, why the heck are you building in that town? It's my own personal belief that that's bad urban planning, and I think there's going to be some very interesting discussions that come out of the High River issue moving forward. And there's some very, very angry residents in High River. So where are we at as a building industry? And I can't speak for my peers, but some general notes that I want to share with you. water alarms are not mandatory in basements. Sump discharge ratings are not mandatory. In many of our municipalities, we have to have sump pits. It's required to put a sump pump in the pit. What rating does that pump have to have? What discharge rating? Does the pump have to have a backflow valve on the pump? None of those things are mandated under code or by the municipalities typically. Are the sumps tested prior to occupancy? That would make sense, wouldn't it? But they're never tested. The builder doesn't test them typically. The homeowner doesn't test them. Oftentimes, the homeowner isn't even educated where they are in the house, what it is. It's a black disc on the floor. I have no idea what that is. Lot grading not inspected post landscaping. Builders and developers are not required in many cases to come back after the homeowner has landscaped their home and ensure that the landscaping, the drainage planes were maintained. There's no obstructions for overland water transfer from one lot to the other. Municipalities don't come in and check this. And my personal experience, I've seen my clients do wonderful things in their backyards. And you're visiting them in their backyards, and you're like, oh, how much did that cost you? Oh, $10,000 to develop our backyard. Well, you've got a problem, and here's what we need to do. So, having those conversations with our clients before they move into the house and explaining to them when we're doing our walk around what they can and cannot do in their backyards is important, I think. But again, it's not mandatory. Downspout discharge, seldom inspected prior for proper orientation and drainage paths. I see the siding crews come in, they do their eaves trough, they drop their downspouts wherever they feel they want. Some are pointing into the neighbor's window well. You'll have three out of the 4 are emptying out on the same side of a lot. It just doesn't make sense, right? And again, there's nothing in the code telling us as dumb builders from Carstairs, where are these things supposed to go? What would make the most sense? Do we want 3 on one side of the house, or do we want to space them out? Is there a better place to put them relative to the roof line of the home? And there's no mandate to look at what percentage of roof line is being covered by each trough and each downspout. Is one going to be collecting a lot more water than the other 3 or 4 around the home? Poor window well designs. How many people have the corrugated metal window wells around their windows in their basement? Okay, well, and there's probably nothing wrong with those, but I see window wells again being put on one builder's home right next to another home that was built by another builder where there's a discharge route from that home, and the water's just going to pour right into that person's window well, into their weeping tile, and down into their sump pit, fill their house up. So, again, I think a little bit of planning, but again, it's not mandated. There is a glimmer of hope in our province, at least. Our municipal affairs group in Alberta have mandated that all builders are warranted in Alberta as of this November. And it's going to be a 1, 2, 5, 10 warranty program, which is wonderful. It's going to put good and bad builders on a level playing field for the very first time. And I know in my marketplace there are good and bad builders, and you're competing against the bad, and unfortunately the consumer has a hard time disseminating and deciding between the two. And at least now there's going to be a warranty program. And the thing that I like best about it is a 5-year moisture. This is brand new. We used to have a 1, 2, and 5 warranty program where 5 years was structural. The moisture coverage is a brand new element to the warranty program. It's but then again, its limitation is it doesn't cover basement infiltration. It's windows, walls, shingles, that sort of thing. So if you go back to my last slide, it would have been wonderful if the province had embedded some of those ideas into their moisture mandate for their warranty. But it's a good step, and maybe some of these other things will come with time. So I have a top 5 that I like to share with home buyers, other builders. From time to time, I instruct better building practice courses for the Home Builder Foundation in Alberta. And my students lots of times like to go away with great new little ideas and inexpensive things that they can take back to their estimation people and their production people. It's not mandated in Alberta for bottom plates of walls to be treated against the concrete. Well, if you have concrete that has water saturation below it, that concrete is wet, and the moisture is going to wick through that concrete anywhere that something's touching it. So why, as an industry, are we putting untreated wood right against the concrete? And even worse, I'll see builders that'll put a piece of poly underneath that untreated piece of wood, which creates even more wicking and more problems below it. So this is a simple thing. Water alarms. That little water, has anyone seen those little water alarms that's in this top right-hand picture? What it does is there's two little poles there. I'm holding it, and there's two little poles there, and when the water reaches the bottom of that alarm, it connects those poles and it makes a sounding alarm. I was just telling Glenn, we had a flood this summer. During the High River flood, our community had a little bit of water, and our basement started to flood. My sump pump failed, and that woke me up. And so it was a sleepless night, me pumping out my basement, but it saved our basement. So just little things. I see this all the time. The basement drain in the concrete isn't beveled. The drain is flat. The concrete finishers they trowel it flat with everything else. Well, how's the water going to get there? How can you divert it? And when we have condensing furnaces and condensing hot water tanks that are discharging water as well, and a large amount of water, and humidifiers, lots of times we'll get this nasty pool of water on the concrete floor. I see some brand new homes. Well, that's a little bit of troweling, and you've saved your problem. But I think the biggest thing is, again, there's no mandate for type of sump pit. And I'm a big believer in sealed sump pits with integrated pumps, high volume pumps, titanium pumps. These ones have titanium pumps that will not rust, will not clog. They have an alarm, they have backup power supply, and we discharge them directly to the outside of the home. And we actually discharge them into the side of one of our troughs, into one of the downspouts. So we force the issue, we force where that water is going to go, and the homeowner doesn't have to make those choices. It's done for them. Relatively inexpensive. This pit pump, the discharge line, all told over and above a normal pump and pit, we're talking about a $380 ad. And when I show my client, would you like this or would you like the old one? How many of them do you think want that? All of them. My top 10 outside. This is more important. Why deal with the water inside if we can keep it outside, obviously? There's no inspections typically on the amount of wash rock over the weeping tile. As long as it has the 3 inches, the inspector's happy. Lots of times in lots of places in high volume production areas, the inspector gives it a 2-minute walk and they don't really look at it. They don't check depth. They don't check to see that the weeping tile's actually been bowed up and is barely covered by the weeping tile. They don't check the backfill aggregate. They don't make sure that the backfill is homogeneous, that it's actually a clay backfill, that the backfill is not disturbing the gravel, the granular fill over the weeping tile. All these things are important. It's also important to slope that granular fill as well, and or protect it. In some instances, in the winter months, we actually will protect that granular fill with a layer of 2-inch foam. That's for other reasons. That's preventing thermal bridging and making the house more energy efficient, but it protects that granular fill as well. We typically try for an aggressive grade for the 5 feet perimeter around the home. So we try for an 8 to 10 inch rise over 5 feet, if not more, if we can get away with it. We also do an aggressive rise on our driveways, 2 to 30 inch rise from the curb, and bringing the house out of the ground even farther, which helps us with grade. A lot of builders in our area, there's an example here where this contractor has tarred the outside of one of our basements. We don't have to worry about acidic soils where we're at, so the VOC-free tar is fine. In some of the areas where we have more acidic or alkalized soils, we will use a Delta MS wrap. Is everyone familiar? Anyone not familiar with that, what I'm talking about? It's that, it looks like Lego, a sheet of Lego around your house, and it creates an airspace between your home and your backfill material. Fantastic product. Wicks the moisture right down to the granular fill in your weeping tile directly where you want it to go. We come back to inspecting the consumer's landscaping 1 year afterwards. So we have a 1 year anniversary with our clients. We come back, we do a walk around the house, and sometimes some of the fill has dropped. We'll come back and fix it, or they've done something that doesn't make sense, and we'll talk about how we can remediate that and work within their landscaping desires to make it work. Proper swales between homes. And we struggle when we're building a house next to another builder, when they put a flat, when they backfill a home and it's perfectly flat and ours is sloped, now we've got a problem. Because under the code, I'm not allowed to push water onto their property. So through no fault of my own, I'm discharging water onto their property. So now what I have to do is I have to go even more aggressive with mine, cut a swale a foot off of the property line, and then bring my swale back up to their property line. But if that's what you gotta do, that's what you gotta do. Proper orientation of downspouts, we touched on that before. One of the things that I like doing with my downspouts, and when I'm working with my troffer, eaves trough contractor, is if I can discharge one or two of my downspouts onto the driveway that goes out to the street, it's going to discharge that water faster out to the street. There might be some people that disagree with that process, but instead of discharging to my side yards, discharge to the drainage planes, to where the town has mandated our water management profile. If that's where the water's supposed to go, then discharge towards that, where it's going to handle the most water, or it's going to slow the water down. So we work with our municipality quite closely to make sure that we're discharging in a direction that they like to see. And then obviously our top cap, when you are backfilling the home, make a clay cap, a sloped clay cap. So often I see the excavators just backfilling with whatever's available. And so you'll see sand, gravel, concrete slag, frozen lumps. The worst thing is in the winter months when they're backfilling with frozen lumps of soil, aggregate soil, and there's void in there, and who knows how that moisture is going to travel. The water's going to go down there, it's going to freeze in the winter time, and then it's going to thaw in the spring, and you just don't know what's going to happen with that moisture. So using a consistent fill, and then and if you can't do that, then at least having a nice 1 or 2 foot thick clay cap sloped on the top to divert that water away from the foundation. I'm looking forward to your questions. I'm seeing some people going, I don't know about that. So I have this funny habit. My wife laughs at me whenever there's a big rainstorm. I throw on a pair of sneakers and I run around our communities where we build it. We build in such a small town, and I know where all my customers' homes are, and I'll run around and make sure a bunch of my customers have their downspouts down. And during the high river floods, of course, we had a few weeks of heavy rainfall, and there was one night where we got about 1.5 inches of rain in a very short period of time. And I'm sorry, I didn't use metric there. Was anyone offended? And this was the first 2 houses I came to. Right, so the first one is a porch right beside the front of his house, and the water is just pouring down there and saturating the soil. There's a big puddle right there where I stepped. And then the next house across the street, the fellow had broken it off and mowing. And out of about 120 homes that I went around and looked at, and just kind of drove around and inspected from the street, there was over 40 that had their downspouts up. So oftentimes after that, I'll get a call the next day. Hey, what were you doing in my backyard last night? I said, well, were you in your basement? No. Good. Because you would have flooded it. So I guess what I'm getting back to is consumer education. And some of the prior speakers had touched on this. Consumer education is so key. Giving them good information. Agencies like ICLR have wonderful information they can provide to home buyers, homeowners, municipalities. But the municipalities that are here today, and you have these elements on your website, that's really encouraging. The more we can educate people to do the right thing and get the water where it's going, that's what's going to prevent it, right? I kept it short and sweet. I'm sure there's some questions from some of you, so I'll open up the floor.
Kyle Chambers from City of London. I think that customer education point is really important. I mean, you sound like you're someone who goes over the top and probably educates all of your houses you build for customers. And even then, 40 out of 120 homes are doing that. So the other 99.9%, how many of them are aware of water issues?
People forget, right? They're busy. We have busy lives these days, and we're inundated with so many things that we've got to do and help ourselves with. But the more that we get that message out, you're absolutely right. The thing you got to remember is what's unique for us is my customers are my neighbors. I see them at the post office or the restaurant, and so, we're going to know them for a long time. So it's a little bit different. The typical builder is tract building. They probably don't even meet their clients. They wouldn't even recognize them if they saw them in a coffee shop, right? So I think that connection's a little bit different. But I think the lesson learned is important. I think some of the things that, I'd like to see in code become part of code then gets us around some of the customer education elements, because it's so hard to convince people to do things. So if we can change code and drive change that way, I'm a big believer in that. I saw someone shake my head about my discharge routes for my trough, and I'd like to hear another opinion on that. Was there some thought to that?
Yeah, it wouldn't work. The reason's there, right? So people would trip over. If you have high groundwater even in the colder months, that would become a hazard, right, for the pedestrians, for people coming up to your home.
Right. So I agree. And what we try to do is along the edge of the garage to the side yard, and we try to discharge there. Obviously, we don't want tripping hazard as well, but yeah, you're right. You wouldn't be able to do it over a sidewalk or a public walking surface, absolutely.
Murray, Dan Franco, City of Kingston. So you mentioned two things there, from developers to builders, right? So you want to maintain aggressive grades, split drainage or whatever, but that's only dependent on what the developer gives you and how much height that they'll give you onto the roads. That's one thing.
Yes.
The second thing is the city mandates lot grading. So you want to have the side lot swale, where if you have something flat on one side, that wouldn't actually get passed at the city level though.
You're right, but 60% of Canadians don't live in cities. And a lot of those smaller municipalities in rural areas don't monitor what they approve, right? And that's the problem. And even when they do monitor what they approve, the monitoring is only as good as that building inspector. And I've seen some really bad building inspectors. So I don't mean to bruise anyone's ego in the room. If you're a building inspector, I'm sorry. But, you're right, drainage plans. And what it comes back to is the municipality approves what the developer is going to put in, right? So if you want more aggressive drainage plans, then force the cul-de-sacs to be 3 feet higher than you normally would have them, or however you're going to move that water. If you're worried about builders doing the bare minimum, then force it at the front end. And that's when I talk about code. If we're having trouble getting homeowners to do the right thing in maintaining their homes, or builders to do the right thing in not adopting better build practices, then special interest groups, lobbying agencies, municipalities have a lot of opportunity to affect code change. We're represented here. The speakers that were up here this morning represent millions of Canadian taxpayers that bought homes that are protected under the National Building Code. You guys have some clout. You have a voice with our code council to make things better. And then the insurers in the room, you are the ones that have to pull your pocketbook out and pay for things when they go wrong. You have a voice. So I would, from a builder's perspective, there's not much I can do. I have a very small voice. And my industry does, I hate to say it, the bare minimum. And whatever the bare minimum is, that's what they'll adhere to. Thanks for your question. Yes, sir.
The weeping tiles you say go into the sump pump you discharge out. Is that by choice or by code? And what do you do for the rear yard drainage? Do you have a separate drain using the storm sewer for those things?
Yeah, so different municipalities have different mandates in Alberta depending on where the footings are in relative to the sewer, the storm sewer, right, whether you're below or above. So in my municipality, some pits are mandatory, tied into your weeping tile, discharge, but what they don't mandate is where the discharge goes to. And I have a problem with that. So, and I brought that to our municipality, and we're working on that as part of their revision of their water management plan. But they don't mandate where that discharge pipe is going to go to. You know, they say, well, the homeowner's going to put a flexible pipe out in their yard when they're pumping water out of the yard. I said, well, why don't we just hardline that pipe, force the direction where it's going to go, and then the homeowner doesn't have to worry about it. So yes, out to a drainage plane makes the most sense. That's back there.
Hi, my name is Jason Belvin from Curo Claim Services. You mentioned earlier in your slide about the a moisture warranty program that the contractors have to follow. I was just kind of curious about that, what that entails, like who enforces it, and what exactly that, like if a roofing contractor did a roof and there was water that got in, what does that look like exactly for this warranty that you're talking about?
I got your question, Jason. Okay, so what Jason's asking is, you know, who actually monitors the warranty? Well, in Alberta currently, there's 4 or 5 warranty programs that the builder can choose from. But this November, they're actually going to have to belong to one of them. In the past, it was voluntary. You didn't have to be covered through a warranty, which I always found surprising that someone would buy a house that didn't have a warranty. But they do all the time. So the warranty program underwrites the builder's ability to make sure they're doing them.
So it's on a new build, so it's not necessarily something on all contractors with respect to all trades, it's specific to the...
It comes back on the general contractor, Jason. So ultimately I'd have the responsibility to make sure the house is mold-free, moisture-free, windows are tight, doors are tight, all those sorts of things. And what you're going to see out of this is there's going to be a huge revision in claddings, I think, in Alberta. My prediction is within the next 3 to 4 years, stucco is going to start to disappear in a lot of communities in Alberta. As part of my Moisture Smart training, we would go and do moisture tests of homes. I know this is outside our scope today, but we would find, by and large, almost every stucco home would have mold and mildew issues on the north facings of homes because it has no ultraviolet to kill the mold and mildew, and the drainage planes weren't being installed properly. So something like this is going to help the home buyer in that regard. Thanks for the question. Yes?
Murray, Rob Martin with Cumis Insurance.
Hi, Rob.
Hi. What is some good information? What are some good information resources that people can read about after this? Because we can't remember everything that's we've heard today. I've heard some good ones from some of the other ones. Obviously, the ICLR website, the Insurance Bureau of Canada, the National Research Council of Canada, YouTube. But you probably have some that you touched on a few.
Yeah, I got a couple pet online venues. I have a website called Behind the Paint, and there's a link through to it from my website where we've done some videos and some blogging, and we also have a blog, goldsealnews.com WordPress blog. Sorry, the email's misspelled there. It's Gold Seal with an L at the end, not Gold Sea. I'm not responsible for the name of the company. That was my father that named the company. No, we don't sell tuna. So if you want some of my personal beliefs on the building industry, we've got some content there.
What about that moisture one you were just talking about, that you're,
Yeah, so in Alberta, there is the Professional Home Builder Institute of Alberta and Alberta New Home Warranty have a Moisture Smart Control Technician certification. They can actually be taken online now, and it's a wonderful course that can be taken online. It used to be a classroom because there used to have to be some on-site work, but it's a wonderful, wonderful course to take. That's PHBI, the Professional Builder Institute, and Alberta New Home Warranty manage that. Thanks for your question. At the back of the room there.
My name's Terry Kuipers. I'm the CBO from the town of Minto, and I wasn't offended at your shot. So, all new homes, just kind of a comment. All new homes in Ontario, if it's not an owner build, are required to be enrolled in Tarion, which is our new home warranty program. Some of the things that you pointed out in your presentation that you wanted to be in the code actually are sealed sump pits, hardline discharges. Trust me, they are.
Not in Alberta, they're not.
No, okay. No, in Ontario they are.
Okay, that's the Ontario Building Code.
That's correct.
Not the national code.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Any of your storm discharges, if you don't have a sump pump, and it's an option to have a pit or not, they are required to have a backwater valve on those. It's still in there, and I can't remember with their new code whether backwater valves on your sanitary are going to be mandated, or if it's still the May clause. In 2012, yeah, okay. So anyways, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so, and you raise a good point. We have different codes in Canada. We have the National Building Code, and then the provinces can choose to operate under that code or ratify it and improve it. And Ontario and Alberta tend to improve it. But there's still, and so there's differences, right? And thank goodness we don't live in the United States where they can choose whatever the code they want. They can choose a 1977 code if it suits their purposes, right? And, so we are lucky. We are in Canada, and our homeowners are lucky in that way. So I guess I come from my perspective, and I can only present to you what we're doing in Alberta and in our region. And I guess what I'm suggesting is best practices, what I'd like to see across the board.
All right, thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Appreciate all the comments. If I can just explore a little bit more of the home warranty and the potential, but how do we really make sure we realize the potential?
Mm-hmm.
For ICLR, Tarion is a member of ICLR, but most of the other home warranty programs aren't really following ICLR's work as closely. I don't know how closely Tarion's following it, but they've chosen to become a member and participate in a number of other events. We got some funding from the Government of Canada, went across the country and held meetings with builders and with the home warranty programs in several of the provinces, including meetings in Edmonton and Toronto. The home warranty programs came to all the meetings. Getting builders out was a little bit harder.
Of course.
In Halifax we had 30 or 40, but in Edmonton it wasn't that strong, and Toronto wasn't that strong. And so the home warranty programs are following. But anyway, to move toward a question. So to move to a 5-year compulsory program for Alberta, that's more aggressive than the rest of the country. The other home warranty programs don't cover 5 years. Making it compulsory is not the way it is in every province in Canada. And for some of the things that the Institute's been writing about that this audience is focusing on, it was an unfortunate presentation in Hamilton saying 18 events in the last 8 years. Not all communities have these events coming over a 5-year time frame, which the builders are focusing on in Alberta, or a 2-year time frame, which is common in many other provinces. So if you're looking to demonstrate whether the construction meets the goals of the buyer, meets the goals of the code, it doesn't necessarily show up in the first short period of time for some of these unusual larger loss events. So the warranty program is focusing on a special area. Anyway, your sense of the function of the warranty program and how it's doing its job and how it fits into some of our conversation.
Well, thanks. Great questions. There's a bunch of questions there. My belief is a warranty program is as good as the builder. And you're right. Problems sometimes don't rear their ugly heads for 20 years until there's a natural event that forces the issue. One of the things that is going to protect the homeowner is now the structural warranty has moved from a 5 to a 10 year. So it could be argued that moisture infiltration through a concrete wall, fissure in the wall, a failure of that wall could be a structural issue, could be argued. Be interesting to see where that goes. The other interesting part of it is if someone chooses to build their own home, that being if I want to build a home for myself and therefore I'm the general contractor, I have to purchase a warranty program. This is how it's reading right now in Alberta. Now there's some contention there. So if I buy an acreage and I decide I want to be the general contractor and build my own home, and I've never built a home before, I still have to have a warranty program in place so that if I choose to sell the home 2 years from now, there's that coverage that rolls over to the next buyer. So I think that's interesting. I think it's a good move forward. You're right, it's not doing everything that we want, but I think there was a lot of arm wrestling with the home builder associations. And I think at the end of it, Mr. Griffiths, when he presented this, there was a furor in Alberta among the home builders because there was an announcement that came very suddenly that this warranty program mandate was going to change. And it was in response to, again, this is my personal belief, that the home builders' lack of willing to cooperate. And Mr. Griffiths just said, well, you're not willing to cooperate? This is what we want. And the home builders don't like being told what to do. But at the end of the day, who are we building the homes for? And the home buyer will bear the cost. Whatever that cost happens to be, I'm a big believer that if a house should be standing 100 years from now, long after I'm gone, if it costs more to ensure that the home's going to be there 100 years from now, it is what it is, right? And that's what it has to be. And luckily, we've been able to build a reputation on that. Many of you don't know, we're the only builder in North America that mandates fire sprinklers in our homes. Only one, voluntarily. And it does add cost to the home. But I believe my homeowners are smart. You know, they figure out how to find a matching pair of socks in the morning in the drawer and find their way to work and earn enough to buy one of my homes. They're smart people. Give them the choice, right? Do you want a better built home? Well, it doesn't happen in the sales proposal when I'm sitting down with them, but they seek us out because of the past history. And this is what I try to sell back to the building industry. I know I'm really off topic here and I'm preaching a little bit. I hope you don't mind. Am I good for time or am I past time?
We'll wrap it up when you're
Right. One last point.
No, go for it.
When municipalities, keep in mind when municipalities are arm wrestling with builder groups about making a $200 change to put a backflow preventer in, remember that the average builder in Canada spends 8% of the valuation of a home on marketing to convince people to buy their product. So when they present you with the argument about affordability, I question that. So keep that in mind when you're negotiating with home builder groups, when you're talking about code, when we're talking about affordability. That's a really loose argument that I don't think holds a lot of water, sorry for the pun. And I guess I'll leave it at that. Thanks, guys. Thank you.